So hello everyone, in this TensorFlow fundamentals video we would see how to create tensors using tf.constant function. So before we see how to create tensors, we should know what tensor is and why should we use TensorFlow, right? So what is TensorFlow? TensorFlow is an open source end-to-end machine learning library for pre-processing data, modeling data and solving multiple models, okay? And why should we use TensorFlow? Because it contains many of the most common machine learning, deep learning, like their mathematical functions that you will want to use in your machine learning, deep learning model. Okay, and tensors is the most important factor of this TensorFlow and the whole deep learning thing. Because if you ever use NumPy, so tensors are kind of like NumPy arrays, and for the sake of this video and going forward multiple videos of this channel, you can think tensor as a kind of multi-dimensional numerical representations of something. And here this something can be literally anything it can be, let's say, numbers, or it could be an image, or it could be text, or it could be some form of information or data that you want to represent with numbers. Okay, so as NumPy and tensors are pretty much same, so what's the difference between them? So the main difference between tensors and NumPy arrays would be that tensors can be used on GPUs and TPUs. That means that if you are using tensor, your computational power would be much higher because it can use GPU. Okay, so now let's come our video's main essence, that we want to create tensor. So see, TensorFlow has some built-in modules that can create tensor by reading your dataset by itself, and it can automatically generate some tensors. But the thing is, as we want to see the basic of tensors, and so we should know that how we can manipulate tensors and how we can create tensors from scratch, because it will give us the basic understanding that how tensors is using. Okay, so all of this being said, let's begin the video with creating the all those tensors. Okay, now we'll create the tensors, right? So before that, let me change the runtime to a GPU. So I'll connect this to my T4 GPU and wait a second. Okay, until it's connecting, the first step would be to import our TensorFlow, right? So simply import TensorFlow as TF, right? Then let's see, for the version check, we'll simply write version, and this will give us the version of the TensorFlow that I am using in my device. Okay, it might change in your device, or maybe in future it will upgrade, right? For sure. Now we'll create our tensor. All right, so the first tensor that we'll be using, its name as scalar, which is a rank 0 tensor. Okay, so wait a minute, it's scalar, so I mean it doesn't have any rank. Okay, so scalar would be tf dot constant. Here let me give some name, let's say 7, and then if I print the scalar, yeah, so you see it gives me the shape null. Okay, and data type integer 32, and in NumPy it has 7 values because we have passed the value 7. Now to see the dimension, right, to check the dimension, what we can say, scalar dot in dimension, and it's giving us 0 because scalar doesn't really has any dimensions. Okay, it's just a single number. So now let's get a vector. What is vector? Vector is vector is more than 0 dimensions. Okay, so for vector tf dot constant, and for vector this, then if I print the vector, you see the shape is 2 and data type, and in numpy array it would look like this. Okay, now again we'll see the dimension of it. Vector dot in dimension, it will give us 1, and vector is kind of a number with a direction. Simply like the difference between scalar and vector would be scalar is just a single number and vector is a number with a direction, right? Now we'll create a tensor of more than 1 dimension, so we can name it as matrix. So more than 1, yeah, more than 1 dimensions. Okay, wait a minute, I need to comment out this. Okay, so matrix tf dot constant. How can we write a matrix? Simply 10 comma 7 and let's say 7 comma 10, right? I should represent it like this. Okay, then if I print this matrix, you'd see, so the shape is 2 comma 2, and in numpy array it would represent as 10 7 7 10 as a 2-dimensional matrix. And again we'd see the dimension of it, and of course it will be 2 dimension, right? And if you have to see what the difference between matrix and vector, then matrix is just simple a 2-dimensional array of numbers. That's it. Okay, so now let's create another matrix. Simply here we'll change our value. So in another matrix tf dot constant, let's say 10 comma 7, let's give 7 comma 10, and let's give another value 6 comma 9, another matrix, and yeah, see 3 comma 2 because it has 3 rows and 2 columns. And to check its another, its dimension would be again 2. Okay, all right, now we have tensors. So what tensor would be? Tensor is more than 2 dimensions. Okay, so for tensor, let's say tensor, it has tf dot constant. Here what we can do, 1 comma 2 comma 3, 4 comma 5 comma 6, 7 comma 8 comma 9, and 10 comma 11 comma 12. All right, then we'll simply print our tensor. Yeah, so you see the shape is 4 comma 3. Now if we see its dimension, you'd have, oh, wait a minute, oh no, I have done the mistake in here. Yeah, it's still 2 dimension because I need to close it here. This one, another, this one, another dimension, then again I have to create another dimension. Yeah, here let's say I'm writing 12, right? So 13, 14, 15, and another one, let's say 16, 17, 18. Then I'm closing it. Now if I print this, wait a minute, it has to TensorFlow D type. So all right, I need to give it under whole dot bracket. Okay, yeah, now it's done. Yeah, okay. Now if we run this, it would give us, it's the three-dimensional. Okay, so from this four kind of tensor, you'd understand that scalar is just a single number, vector a number with a direction, matrix a two-dimensional array of numbers. Then comes our tensor, which is an n-dimensional array of numbers, where n can be any number. That's it for today's video, and in next video we'd see that how to create some random